All right. Now, you read the title of the video. I'm not going to waste your time. Before we get into the juicy parts of this video, I wanted to just say that, you saw on the thumbnail, take notes. Now, this, I would highly recommend actually taking notes for this, because some of this shit you will not remember. If you're gonna get a, fucking Word document up or something, go and do that right now. All right. Now, before you come at me and say I don't know what I'm talking about, I am actually educated in this. I am properly educated. So, not only is this backed by science and decades of applied studies, I guess, I've actually studied it and I know what I'm talking about. So there's no need to, I don't want you coming at me in the comments with misinformation. All right, now you got that all admin out the way. I'm gonna start off by saying that all I don't know how to, your age, weight, sex, and activity levels do matter in terms of what you put in your body. Now, this is in terms of listening to generalized advice, in the sense that, what may work for a toddler will not work for, a middle-aged person. And while it's not significant in terms of what changes, there is enough it shouldn't be rocket science to understand that, a 6'5", 100 kilo, 220 pound fucking guy is going to need more fucking food than some little 5 foot, 100 pound chick. It shouldn't be rocket science, but it does depend. The older you are, you do need less of the actual carbs, less carbs and fats, and more, lean, healthy fibers and all that kind of stuff. In terms of, it's situational. Now, I can't speak for individuals, because clearly I don't know where you fit in, but generally you want to increase your calorie. I'm going to talk in calories, but I could talk in macros or whatever. Increase your caloric intake to a certain point. I think it's about 25 to 30, and then generally you want to kind of just hold it at maintenance and gradually transition away from looking at calories and going to more getting the necessary nutrition you need. Your vitamins, your minerals, all that kind of stuff. Because I see a lot of people just, they go, especially meatheads at the gym, they have fucking 150 grams of protein and they meet their macros, but it's not all just macros. There are other aspects of a healthy diet. You've got to have good levels of fiber and calcium and all that stuff. And while you may not notice it while you're young, this stuff really catches up on you when you're older, I see so many people who, older individuals, who develop osteoporosis because they don't fucking have any fucking calcium. It's like, what? How do you not have any calcium in your diet? And I don't understand the mindset behind, you know, there is almost always a source of calcium that is for everyone. But, you know, these actually quite serious diseases can be prevented just by getting a wide variety of macros and micros, actually, you know, macro and micronutrients, and even, you know, vitamins and minerals and all that good stuff. But again, how much you need is dependent on the four main factors. I've got three. There's a fourth, but it's kind of irrelevant. You know, age, weight, sex, and activity levels. What that is for. So yeah, it's you gotta understand that it's all about understanding what you need and not what someone else needs. All right, now a little bit more detailed stuff. Now we all hear about fats, right? You know, it's a macro, and it's, you know, it's meant to be this super bad, you know, thing that prevents people from, you know, looking a certain way. It's not entirely true, because believe it or not, you need to have a certain level of cholesterol. You know, it's not like it's having cholesterol is bad, it's having too high of a cholesterol. And this is mainly because you're consuming the wrong type of fat. Now, it's not super complicated, but it's a bit difficult to get your head around. There's four main types of fat. You've got your monounsaturated, you might have heard of these before, your monounsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fats, saturated fats, and trans fats. Now, the first two, mono, and I'm just going to shorten them, mono and polyunsaturated fats, are your good fats. They're, you know, your polyunsaturated are your fish and your avocado and all that. That's probably the healthiest fat, and that is the best it's the best quality of fat, and it's the best for maintaining your cholesterol levels. Now, the monounsaturated fat, I believe from memory, is more like things like peanut butter, and it is still good for you, but needs to be regulated a little bit more. Now, the other two, saturated and trans fats, are almost exclusively just from junk food. And this is why you hear people with high cholesterol, because what makes up saturated and trans fats is the agent, I guess you'd call it, that actually skyrockets your cholesterol levels. Now it's, you know, it's not rocket science to cut out the junk food, but what actually makes junk food bad is the fact that it's got all these saturated fats in it, and it's processed. These saturated fats and trans fats have been processed, and they're not actually providing you with any benefit. It's almost just exclusively just sending your cholesterol levels through the roof. But it's important to understand the differences so you can actually go out and specifically look for and know what you're looking for, if that makes sense. Now, next, I spoke briefly about fiber. It's not a macronutrient, but it's probably the fourth biggest nutrient. And it's really important for especially guys who are trying to cut, because fiber is very closely tied to, you know, how full you feel. And I don't know if you've heard of there's actually a word for it. It's called satiety. Basically, it's just the feeling of fullness. And fiber is directly tied to satiety. Now, there are two different types of fiber, soluble and insoluble. Now, doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand the difference. One dissolves in water and one doesn't. Insoluble fiber is the stuff that makes your shit's solid. That's about as simple as I can put it. And it, you know, that's pretty much its only purpose. Now, both fibers do provide satiety, and they're kind of the slow burn energy source, in the terms that it'll sit in your, not sit in your stomach, but it takes a lot of time to digest. That's why you don't get that, feeling of, you don't, eating foods high in fiber, you don't feel super hungry afterwards. And that's why it is the most important for, dudes who are trying to cut, or, chicks as well, that you keep your fiber levels up. And if you look at a diet that is, focused on, say a lean bulk or a lean cut, having really lean foods, there will be a lot of foods high in fiber, your potatoes, your whatever, your rice does have fiber in it. This kind of stuff that, lean stuff, which is, low in calories, normally has a lot of fiber in it. So it's one of the most underrated ways to go about your cut, is to look for high fiber. It's super beneficial. Now, the next one is, not all protein is created equal. Now, I'm talking about protein sources, because there are different, you can get different sources of protein, obviously, but it's more about the quality that I'm talking about here. Now, people like to say that all protein's the same, protein's protein, but, having super lean without all the fat in it, and like I say a super lean steak, for example, is super high in, protein and iron and all that stuff, but lacks all that fat. And fat is the highest, it is the most energy dense. So, that's why people on the cut say lean ground beef, because it is all that fat free. Yeah, you do pay more because it's of a higher quality, and it's, better overall meat, but it's a better source of protein. So if you do genuinely care about getting the best protein, that's why you see, people with a bit of money, they do go out and buy these super nice. Now, I haven't looked super much into it, like Wagyu steaks, but it would make sense for them to be a very good source of protein. Now, like, you hear all the time, a good source of protein, just how much protein there is. But there is also other factors. It's not just, this has got 25 grams per serve and this one's got 20. But it's like, this one's also got a 20% fat content, and this has got a 5% fat content. So, if you're on the bulk and you're just trying to pack on size, you get for more protein, you live with the fat because you need the calories anyway. If you're trying to stay lean and pack on lean mass, you're almost better off to opt for slightly less protein overall, but having less fat within the actual food. Now, it kind of applies with, this is why I have a problem with, being vegan and vegetarian, because the protein sources aren't as good. Now, you may say you get, you still get, tofu has whatever protein, or, your beans and your lentils and whatever. Kidney beans, whatever. Yeah, they have protein in them, but it's a different stuff. It's a different type of protein. It's not as proteiny. Tofu isn't the same kind of quality of, it's similar with like I was just saying about how fat content, and, it has a factor in the quality of a protein source. It's the same with, other plant-based sources. It's not a true source of your protein. Now it does, most of the plant-based sources provide protein as a side macro. Most of them do have that focus on their fiber and their, that kind of stuff. They're mostly fiber-based. So it's not actually, I would say designed, but it's not ideal for protein intake. What are we? Fucking 15 and a half minutes in. All right, let's keep moving. Now, carbs. I wanted to speak briefly on carbs because depending on how what your goals are with your diet and your, what activity levels, and if you're in the gym or whatnot, carbs are a double-edged sword because they are your body's preferred energy source. And so any carbs that you do consume will be burned up straight away or prioritized to be burned. And it's, now while that's all good and well and your energy, you have energy levels, your energy levels will be good, fats are inevitable. It's super difficult to avoid eating fats, and because it's not the priority energy source, it gets stored away. Now, if your metabolism is not through the roof, it's very likely that having carbs will cause you to have fat stores, because fat's in everything. You'd be amazed at what fat isn't in. That's more the question you should be asking. But that's why you see the keto diet and all this stuff with very low carbs and high fat are extremely popular, because carbs are they result in your body putting on more fat, and you are less effective in terms of your work and productivity. I've spoken about this before. So you gotta be careful because if you're gonna pack on the carbs, but you're trying to focus on your work and your physical health isn't of a top priority right now, you're just doing yourself a disservice. But it's important to understand that you gotta understand that carbs will always be prioritized by your body when it needs energy. So you should kind of shift that, and I'm not saying that go on like a pure protein diet, but you can kind of shift that and take control of how your body uses its energy. If that makes sense. Anyways, this video is actually dragging out a little bit. I hope you got something out of this. It was kind of a little bit of me just blurting, but I feel like it's important to clear the air on some of this complicated diet stuff. Now, if you're still here at the end of the video, I love you, and remember, life is what you make it.